So, Adam Brewer, thank you so much for coming to do the show.
Sasha, it's a pleasure seeing you. It's a pleasure being here. I have my first interview on this acclaimed podcast, Community News.
Yes, we are international, and I'm sure you'll do lots of international stuff after this. Well, it was such perfect timing because I got your book right before the apocalypse started, and I started reading it as I was quarantined. And it's so funny. It's so funny. And it's it's such an easy read, which I loved because I could skip around, pick a chapter, go back, then go back and read it all the way through.
It's an easy read because my vocabulary is not that good also, so I try to keep it down to 2 or 3 syllable words.
See, actually, your vocabulary is really good. I was thinking about how Gregory Zuckerman said Maya and Paul's vocabulary was good, and you use a lot of cool vocabulary words in there, but just you make it very palatable for the regular person. So let's talk about the book. I guess we should talk about the name. What is the name of the book? Where does that come from?
Quickly, St. Christopher's Guru comes from, there's a bar I hang out in when I am fortunate enough to go to the city of Amsterdam called Belushi's. Attached to Belushi's is a youth hostel called St. Christopher's. And given the fact that I hang out there every single night that I'm in Amsterdam, I meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people from around the world. And one night I was talking to these people, and a woman came up to me and she said, "I see how you give advice to all these people. You are some sort of guru. You are St. Christopher's Guru." And basically that's how the name came about. I don't want people to think I'm douchey enough to call myself a guru, because I'm certainly not. But she named the book for me. I'm forever grateful, and I thank her whenever I see her when I'm in Amsterdam.
It's a very cool name. And then from there, you take us on a wild tour of your life and your mind, and you go back and forth from childhood to now being a parent, to being an empty nester, to being a parent when your kids were home. There's so many relatable parts in this book. But I guess one thing I wanted to ask you about was you talked about therapy, that you've only been going to therapy for like 15 years. I found that surprising.
Why? You think I need more or longer or what?
No, I just found it surprising that you didn't find therapy till your mid-30s.
I was way too fucked up before then to even think about therapy. Now I'm only mildly fucked up at this point, so it's working. And I figure by the time I'm in my 400s, I might be a normal human being by then, so... As long as my therapist doesn't die before me, then all bets are off for myself and the rest of the world.
You have somebody lined up already for if she does.
Well, that's true. I mean, her daughter is a therapist, and I've already told her and bribed her to take me on as a client. At the funeral, I will have my first session. So.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's a scary thought, not having your touchstone person. But I guess, like I was thinking in the book, you paint yourself out in the book as to be someone who finds fault with all kinds of things. So you wouldn't even peg you as a therapy guy. But then you notice that once you're a therapy guy, you're like really into therapy.
Right. Yes, I love therapy. I love being able to talk about myself for what used to be an hour and is now 50 minutes. But yes, of course, I still criticize everything else that's going on in life. What do you think gives me pleasure at this point? That's it. It's pointing out the faults of everything that's going on.
In the book you do, in a funny way, but I just wondered how you changed your stance on therapy. And were you a guy who used to walk around making fun of therapy and people who went to therapy?
No, I never did.
No,
I never made fun of therapy.
You never poo-pooed it?
No, I never. I just never realized that how much it would help me.
Help you.
Right, in very small increments in my life that I'm inching along.
Okay.
And becoming,
well, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could say that I felt the same for mine. But this is not an interview about me.
We can interview you. That's fine with me.
I'm interviewed all the time by Paul on here.
I see.
So, yeah, it's good for me to be, for once, in the driver's seat. So you talk about 2 places. You talked about Amsterdam, and you talk about another major American city where you spend a lot of time. Do we want to tell the listeners what that is, or let them buy the books they can?
No, sure. It's the fabulous city of Las Vegas, Nevada, which people either love beyond belief or loathe with every fiber of their being. There's no middle ground when it comes to Las Vegas. And I'm one of those people who loves every second of being there because there is no better place in the world to people watch, and there's no better thing to do in the world than people watch and make up stories as you see people walk by.
Oh, that I read in the book that you said you make up a lot of backstories, and I was like, maybe that's why his writing is so good, because you're walking around all day making up backstories for people.
Right, exactly. Never to be confirmed as to what's really going on, but that's okay.
But then sometimes you have actual real things going on.
Well,
do you find that the things you make up for people are usually more fantastical than the real things? Because you have some scenarios of pretty crazy things going on.
Well, of course, when I make up scenarios for other people's lives, I make them as insane and as crazy as possible. And that's why I loathe to meet them, to find out how far away I am from reality. But when it comes to my own life, yes, it's been quite an insane, crazy journey, from meeting celebrities to traveling to going to the supermarket to being right now a stay-at-home dad with 2 kids in college. So that's one thing I like, that you could make a trip to the supermarket or a story about cleaning your house, which I have a hard time doing tasks like that alone. You can make those as interesting as the stories about meeting celebrities. So when you're in a mundane circumstance, have you always had a gift of being able to find something funny about it? Well, I'm always trying to look for the funny because life is way too serious as far as I'm concerned. So whenever situation I'm in, wherever I'm walking, I'm trying to find at least a nugget of humor for myself and hopefully to share with other people. So that's the way I go about life, sort of in a delusional way, I guess you would say.
I think reading it, you're probably less delusional than most people. It seems like you're actually quite a realist, that you see what's going on. So it talks about, speaking of celebrities, your exciting career as a television producer and some of the people you produced. So we'll let the listeners hopefully go to Amazon and buy this book, St. Christopher's Guru, and you can read about all the people that he produced, probably some people that you're fans of. But you also talked about being in a music video as your first really introduction to a celebrity. Can you tell us that story?
That was insane. That was back in the mid-'80s, I guess it was. Billy Joel, Tell Her About It, on MTV. They advertised that they needed audience for this video that we're shooting at the Museum del Barrio in New York City, which I believe is on 95th or 105th Street and 5th Avenue. And I went there and stood there, was in the audience all day long, and got to meet Billy Joel. I got him to sign about 5,000 pieces of memorabilia that day. And if you look closely in the video, you will be able to see me. I am the person totally out of sync with the rest of the audience when they're doing a wave back and forth. And that's how you can notice me in a green shirt, out of sync with every other person in the audience.
That's amazing. I'm going to put it on tonight. I want to look at it with my family, like on the big screen, and see if we can find you. So a lot of what you talk about in the book is your children and raising your children and having been a stay-at-home dad for a big chunk of that time. Did you find that there were other stay-at-home dads for you to hang out with, to coffee clutch with, or were you on your own?
I'm sure there were other stay-at-home dads, but given my personality, not one of them that I would ever want a coffee clutch with, as you would say. So, no, I'm sure there were others, but I did not mingle with them. And if you read the book, you'll obviously see why. So, my attitude about everything, so...
Did you enjoy being the primary caregiver those years for your kids?
Oh, yeah, of course. I loved it. Being the one to shape them. Well, as I always say, my ex-wife did a great job in their formative years, and I did a good job of not fucking them up when I took over. So that's the way I look at my child rearing at this point. So
that's perfect. They got a little bit of both of you full time.
Exactly.
And they were old enough to be at the part where they start picking on their parents, which my kids do to me incessantly. It got to be you. So
right.
So your ex-wife gets to always be the sort of golden memory of mom in the early years, and you're the annoying one to be on top of them during the teenage years, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So you also talk about. It's interesting. You have these conflicting things where you talk about going to bed at 9 o'clock, but then you talk about having these all-nighters out in Vegas or Amsterdam or other parts of your life. So it's hard for me to know which is the real Adam Brower.
Well, as you know, this is a collection of stories, and if you look at the dates on these stories, they occur far apart. So most nights in Vegas, I am in bed by 9 o'clock. Most nights in Amsterdam, I am in bed by 9 o'clock. That's the true me. There are those occasions when I will stay out past my bedtime, but they are few and far between and lend fodder to the stories in the book. But other than that, you'll find me in pajamas in front of a TV, mouth wide open about 9 o'clock at night because I'm sleeping with my head tilted all the way back. So.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if one was like which
does that shatter the whole image? I'm sorry.
No, I just wasn't sure which was the exaggeration, you know? But I like how you also call back to all these movies and songs and TV shows during whatever era you're telling your story. You have a really good knack of doing that, much like our own Paul here on this show. You have a really good knack of calling back what was going on and the trends. And
we sound alike. It's amazing. We sound alike. We have the same personality traits a lot, it sounds like.
Some of them are the same. He describes himself as a curmudgeon, and I always tell him he isn't. Right. What about you?
Oh, I'm a curmudgeon.
Yeah, you think so?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So you're only showing us the funny sides in this book?
Oh, no, there's curmudgeonly sides in that book.
Yeah, there is. That's true. But they sound like that you're joking or exaggerating because of the way you write about them.
Right.
So reading this book, it makes me really want to be a fly on the wall in the house where you live for 24/7, a couple days, to really figure out who is the real Adam Brower and how much of what's in here is you being funny, you exaggerating, your sense of humor, and how much is reality.
If you're a fly on the wall, you're going to be one of those annoying ones that buzz all around that I'm going to be trying to swat all the time, or you're going to just sit there and just watch and be an observer.
Now you sound just like Paul, as if you have like misophonia and a thing about sounds.
I do, in fact.
You do?
Amazingly.
My goodness. Really, what I think it is that I'd like to interview your children and your partner to find out how much of what's in here they think what is their point of view, or is reality, or is just your point of view being funny.
Well, they absolutely think that I'm totally crazy and mortified that this is even out, that people know even a small part of my secrets, including how I clean the house on a daily basis. Once they read that, they knew I was a total freak. So we'll just leave it at that. That'll be one tidbit that people can find out on their own if they dare.
Yeah. There are a lot of great secrets revealed in this book, and it's very funny, and it's really good global pandemic reading and quarantine reading. So I suggest everyone go over to Amazon.com and buy yourself a copy of Adam Brower's St. Christopher's Guru, a semi-autobiographical romp through the world's biggest social media site.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for having me on. I'm sorry Paul couldn't be here to interview me also.
We're trying to do social distancing, so we're only having one of us at a time on Skype.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's a chapter in the book, too.
Right. Also something I think Paul says, right?
Exactly. You guys have that in common, too. It's crazy.
Well, again,
it's crazy. Maybe you could co-host a show with me if Paul's ever sick, Adam Brower.
That would be wonderful. I would much appreciate. Thank you so much, Sasha. Thank you for having me. Thanks for taking the time to interview. And I hope everybody goes out and buys the book.
I hope they do, too. It's really funny, and it'll really keep your mind off of all the very serious things that are going on right now.
Perfect. Thanks again.
And you don't have to, and you'll stay safe because you buy it from Amazon.
Right.
So, okay, thanks for coming in, Adam Brower.
Thank you, Sasha.
Good luck with the book.
Thank you.